This Tuesday, December 26th, NBA Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Tuesday, December the 26th, currently 11:03 on the East Coast. Here to get into the Tuesday game schedule in the association. And joining me, I got my guys here with me. First, you guys know me as the voice of the Tennis Gambling Podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast, the WNBA Gambling Podcast, NFL, and of course here on the NBA Gambling Podcast is Scott Sudi Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man?
Nothing much. Had a pretty decent Christmas in the NBA as I ended up splitting the lock and dog picks. Had the Bucks as my lock, didn't work out. The Knicks played a great game. Had the Mavericks, though, on the money line at plus 160, which got there as the Suns keep falling apart. I've been roasting this team for months, and they look like they might miss the playoffs. So keep that in mind. I believe I saw plus 145 this morning on the team to miss. They're not very good. And you're looking at the roster, I don't know what they can trade. They don't have many actual assets at this point. And you're looking at the chemistry, the body language, the soundbite of Devin Booker criticizing Metu mid-game for not running back on defense. Luka dropped 50 and 15. He dominated them. He owns the team at this point. So Phoenix fell apart, and I capitalized. But once again, the Bucks didn't get there for me. But overall, pretty decent day with the leans and the totals.
Yeah, I thought we did pretty good on the Christmas Day pod. I know my lock barely got there with the Warriors. I gave it at 6.5 and closed at 7.5, but they did lose a game only by 6, so won by the hook this time around. And my dog pick with the Lakers was not even close at all. But I think we did pretty well on the player props that we did discuss as well for the Christmas Day game. So hopefully we can carry some of that momentum into the new week here of betting. But also joining us, we got our guy back here with us as well. It's Lonte Smith. Lonte, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
What's up, man? Doing good. Solid day yesterday. Not too much to brag about. So yeah, man, looking forward to the games today. And yeah, hopefully we can get on the right side of some of these.
Yeah, big schedule on the card here for Tuesday. I think yesterday we kind of played out where I think Scott and I were expecting as far as the props. I mean, the sides and totals went. I think every single game yesterday, the second half went over the total. But some of these lines were pretty sharp as far as came to the total. Let's see how many dogs won outright. I think it was just 2, right? Dallas and New York.
The Knicks. Yeah.
Yeah, Denver was a 7.5 point favorite. They won straight up, but didn't cover the number. Boston covered and won the game. And then Miami, without Joel Embiid on the floor and Jimmy Butler on the floor, they took care of business as well after an atrocious shooting start for Tyrese Maxey. That kind of carried them to the loss there. But
what did he start again? 2 of 17?
I think like 0 of 9, 0 of 10.
I think he was 0 of 17 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he finished like 4 of 20.
Yeah,
4 of 20, 1 of 9. The first 3-pointer he made, it was like seconds left in the fourth quarter where pretty much the game was wrapped up at that point. But yeah, man, let's get into the card here for today, guys. It's a big card, so let's just dive right into it here. Well, first game on the board, we'll go over to the Brooklyn Nets. They are in the Motor City here tonight to take on the Pistons. Currently, the Nets are a 6-point favorite in this game with a total of 231. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams here. Let's start here with the Brooklyn Nets. They are going to be without Lonnie Walker the fourth. That is pretty much it. Ben Simmons is going to be out for another 2 weeks for the Nets. For the Detroit Pistons, Jalen Duren is probable in this game. Killian Hayes is probable as well. Isaiah Stewart is probable as well. And then Monte Morris has been ruled out for this game. Not much has changed here, but Lonte, let me start with you on this game. Nets are laying 6 against a team that has now lost 26 games in a row here. But what do you think about the side?
Yeah, on the side, I think the number's kind of a little bit short, to be honest. I mean, they closed 9.5 at home. In the I think it was like a week ago, maybe.
I
That
think it was
they
Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, it closed 9.5. Nothing's changed, and now it's 6.5. I don't think you give much advantage for home court for a crowd who was sell the team. So I wouldn't give them any kind of home court, especially not 3 points of home court advantage. So and nobody's out. So I think it's a little short, to be honest. I mean, Brooklyn's lost 4 or 5, but I mean the one win that they did have ATS was against this team, Detroit, that they pretty much dismantled from start to finish. Yeah, man, I really don't see what the adjustment is. I mean, Detroit, the only thing they do well is get to the rim. I mean, they're second in rim frequency, but Brooklyn is 10th in rim percentage defense, so that kind of negates that. So, I mean, as long as Brooklyn kind of gets out, turns them over, they're 30th in turnover percentage defense, which means they don't turn the ball, or they don't turn people over. Denver's 30th in turnover percentage offense. So, I mean, something's got to give here. I'm pretty sure that Detroit is going to give the ball up. Brooklyn had 22 points off the turnovers in the first matchup. I don't see a path for Detroit here. I like Brooklyn. I'll lay the number.
Yeah, I'll keep this one short and simple. Until the Pistons snap out of this, I'm not going to back them with my hard-earned money. So, Nets for me again for this Detroit Pistons team. Not only are they bad defensively, but offensively they have nothing outside of Cade Cunningham. And I know they got Bogdanovich back, but it hasn't really translated to wins. Maybe they catch them sleepy here after the Christmas holiday or whatever the case might be, but I can't make a case for the Pistons here. 26 in a row, obviously that's the number that they've lost. So give me the Nets here -6. Scott, spread.
Yeah, I'll go with the Nets as well. It's kind of at the point where the streak is so historic and long that no team wants to be the team that actually loses to this team. So you can argue that unlike step-up games against good teams, it's a similar story where teams are stepping up because they don't want to be the first team to blow this thing. So I actually think the Nets will be interested in this game and motivated. I'm going to take the Nets. I think if you want to take Detroit, maybe they jump out to a decent start in front of the crowd. But over 48 minutes, we know this team gets worse and worse as the game goes on. They're one of the worst crunch time teams in the entire league. I'll take the Nets as well, but I think if you want to take Detroit, maybe lean early. But I think the Nets are just a bad matchup for this team because they take care of the basketball, they play good defense, and Detroit can't shoot.
Yeah. Scott, any thoughts on the total?
I think I'm going to lean to the under in this game. Maybe it's because I'm just expecting a little bit of a hangover, maybe figuratively and literally for every team after Thanksgiving, after Christmas, I mean. But I am looking at the under. It's mostly just me daring Detroit to actually hit some shots, and I'm not sure if they can. Nets offense hasn't exactly been great either recently, so I'll lean to the under, but not really a strong opinion.
Lonte, anything on the total?
I lean to the over. Nothing strong. The first one went over. Was 31. Total kind of crept up a little bit, 232.5. I just think Detroit defensively is just bad. So Brooklyn will pretty much be able to get what they want, especially at that guard spot. Detroit 17 and 12 to the over. Brooklyn 15 and 14, 16 and 14. So I mean, not really a big edge here. They both have been around 500 in the last 10. So just a lean to the over. I think both teams can be able to score.
Yeah, I probably look at Nets team total to go over in this game. The Pistons over the last 5 games are the 3rd worst defensive rated team. And then on the season, they are, let's see here, bottom 5 as well. So pretty consistently bad on the defensive side of the basketball are the Pistons. So Nets team total over is what I would look at as far as the total play. Lonte, any player props you're looking at?
I was looking at Duren, but he's not listed yet. I think they're going to wait until he gets ruled in, but I'll be on his points and rebounds to go over. This will be his first game back since December 6th. Before that, he had 3 straight double-doubles. Even if you want to, expand it out, 7 of his last 9, he had double-doubles as well. I think he can pretty much get whatever he wants on the front line. Claxton, decent rim defender, but fouls a ton. So I think Duren on his way back. If Stewart is questionable as well, so if he's not on a minutes restriction, I think Duren has a pretty good game.
Scott, any player props?
Yeah, I thought about Cam Thomas for points. Just the fact that his role with this team is kind of stabilized now, and it does seem like he's one of the big shot takers, especially at the end of shot clocks. He seems to have the ball in his hands all the time to make something out of nothing. I think he's in line for a pretty good game here. I wouldn't mind his points. I thought about maybe something Dinwiddie related for like assists, but the problem is that Dinwiddie has really not been in great form lately. So I do wonder if I even want to bother backing him or not. Probably not. I think I'm looking at Cam Thomas. I maybe wouldn't mind Claxton rebounds. Lonte makes a point that he does get into foul trouble a lot, but the Nets really don't have many great rebounding options on this team. Sharp's their backup guy who's been better recently, but he's pretty normally involved for about 18 minutes. Not much playing time there. If Claxton doesn't get into immediate foul trouble, he is the main rebounder on this team. I don't mind maybe a Claxton double-double, maybe a Claxton rebounds prop, but I think he has an impact in this game.
All right, let's get over to the next game on the schedule here. We'll go to the Orlando Magic. They are in the nation's capital to take on the Wizards. Magic currently sitting as a 7.5-point favorite in this game with a total of 239. Looking at the injury report for the Orlando Magic, Markelle Fultz is going to be out for this game. Joe Ingles is questionable, and Jalen Suggs is also questionable with the left wrist sprain. For the Washington Wizards, do not see an injury report for them for whatever
I saw
reason.
Kuzma was a game time decision. That's the only one that I saw earlier.
Well, how come they don't have anything for? All right, let me check another outlet. But let's start with the side here, guys. Let's go -7.5 in favor of the Magic here. Scott, lead us off.
So I'm going to give the Wizards a little bit of props because they have been better recently. They've not been good, but they've been better. So that's a step in the right direction. I'm going to lean to Orlando. I just think Orlando's the better team. I know Indiana was in pretty bad form recently, and Orlando just beat Indiana by 7 in that game. Led by a lot, blew a massive lead, but responded well in the fourth quarter to close the game out. But I like this Orlando team. Just simply put, they're a good defensive unit. I know Suggs is questionable. I don't believe he played last game, but defensively, they did a pretty good job against the Pacers anyway. I'm going to lean to the Magic because I know this team can actually get stops, and I know that Washington can't. But I do think with Banchero and with Wagner, they just have so many weapons on this team. And we saw how these teams faced off earlier this season. Orlando got whatever it wanted in those meetings. I don't really see that changing. Give me Orlando to get the job done against Washington.
Lonte, what do you like?
Yeah, I'd lean the other way. I wanted to bet it, but it's just a lean because when I was looking into Washington, they've been really good against the spread, 6-3-1 in their last 10, 5 straight, but 4 of those were on the road. If you look at their home road splits as far as covering numbers, on the road, they're extremely profitable, maybe because they're, getting 10, 11 points on the road, and they've been covering those as of late. So I agree with Scott. They have been, playing a little bit better. Orlando lost 4 of the last 5, played a tough schedule in between that time frame. Boston twice, Miami, Milwaukee. Both teams, they played 2 meetings this year. Orlando won both, covered once as a 10.5-point favorite at home. I think Washington can hang here. They don't turn the ball over. Orlando does a really good job of turning teams over, do a really good job of getting to the free throw line, the first in free throw offense, but they do foul a lot, 27th in free throw rate defense. So I think that could be an issue. I just kind of put my brakes because I saw the Kyle Kuzma pop up on the injury report, so I'm not sure, what to take into that. Orlando on the road, I mean, they're fine. They're a good team. I don't know if they have the ability to kind of pull away if Kuzma plays. I mean, they're 29th three-point percentage offense. Don't have a ton of guys that can shoot it. So I think that Washington has value at the +7.5, especially if Kuzma plays. So if Kuzma plays, I'll be honest. But right now, it's just a lean until I find out a little bit more information about him.
Yeah, you mentioned the Wizards at home this season have not been very good. Trying to pull up the exact numbers here. I just had it in front of me. 2-8 straight up are the Wizards at home, 3-7 against the spread. They're giving up about an average of 128 points per game, and they are right now the worst rated defense in the entire association overall on the season. If we trim that down to over the last 5 games, I know they were just on that West Coast road trip. They were doing pretty well, and they actually have ballooned up to league average as far as defensive rating goes. But this Orlando Magic team, I think, has regressed a little bit after their start, but I mean, 100% they are the better team here. Again, like you guys mentioned, or Lonte mentioned, that that defensively, I trust obviously the Orlando Magic here more. I think they have more scorers on this team as well. And then with Kyle Kuzma, who did leave the last game against the Warriors and didn't return, he's dealing with a knee injury. So, like Lonte mentioned, he's a game time decision here. So, I'll lean here with the Orlando Magic, but probably look at a Magic team total to go over as far as a total is what I would like in this game. But Scott, anything as far as a total in this game?
Yeah, I'm going to lean over. The two meetings we saw earlier this season were track meets. I see a pretty similar story here. So I think you're going to see points.
Lonte, total.
Yeah, I like the over. Both, like Scott mentioned, both earlier meetings, they flew over. 265 and 259 were the totals. Washington 6 of last 10 went over. Pretty much an over team on the season. 16 and 12 as far as going over. And I think you see a lot of points scored with the clock stop. Like Orlando's rim rate is really, really high, first in rim rate. They're ninth in rim percentage. And Washington really doesn't have a rim protector at all. Gafford is okay, but sometimes he has the ability to foul. So I think we see a ton of points at the free throw line, and easy baskets scored at the rim. I don't think the 3-point shooting of Orlando will propel them to score a lot of points. I think they'll just be able to get to the rim at ease and to the free throw line. So yeah, I like the over.
Yeah, Magic in the two games this season have scored 139 and then 130 against the Washington Wizards. Let's get into player props here. Lonte, anything that you like?
Yeah, I like Franz over 33.5 PRA and back-to-back. He has back-to-back 30-point outings versus Washington. PRA total flew over 46 and 40 is what he had. Yeah, I just think that the guard defensive play of Washington won't be up to par, especially if Kuzma is kind of nicked up or whatever the case may be. Even if he's in, I think Franz gets there. So I like Franz over 33.5 PRA. I'm going to look at Daniel Gafford, points and rebounds, over 18.5. He's over in 7 of his last 9. He had 19 and 11 in the second matchup. He pretty much a bounce back game from the first. He had a poor outing in game 1 of that series. Miles Turner at 41, Brook Lopez 21, Bam 26, Porzingis 25, all versus the Orlando front line. Wendell Carter's back, but not 100%. Even then, he's kind of undersized. So I think Gafford has his way at the rim. Washington's third in rim percentage offense, mostly because of him, in the dunker spot, catching lobs and everything. So I like Daniel Gafford over 18.5 points and rebounds.
Scott, player props?
Yeah, I'm just going to go with Franz. Franz done well against Washington. He's in a good matchup here. We know Washington can't stop anybody. Simply put, I think Franz 22.5 points is too low. I'll go with the over for him.
Yeah, I mean, Franz has scored at least 20 points in, I think it's 7 straight games against the Washington Wizards. And like Lonte mentioned, back-to-back 31-point games this season against the Wizards as well. So that's a pretty good look. I know they did get Wendell Carter Jr. back, did the Orlando Magic, but he's been on a limited or he's been on a minutes restriction, I guess. I was looking for his rebounds, but I'm not sure I can get there, especially just with the amount of minutes that he's played since he has returned from injury, 23, 21, and 16. But the rebounds have always been there for Wendell Carter Jr. So, and I can't argue against guys giving out Franz Wagner in this game. All right, guys, before we get over to the next game on the schedule here, let me tell everyone about DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving new customers an exclusive offer just for NBA fans. So this week, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 instantly in bonus bets, plus score an NBA League Pass subscription on us for the rest of the season. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code SGP. New customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting $5 plus scoring an NBA League Pass on us. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code SGP. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. League Pass reward issued as promo code to redeem subscription and must be claimed by January 15, 2024. See DraftKings.com/promos for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. And we're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets. And research every NFL, NBA, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bet's revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, gentlemen, let's keep the show rolling here. Let's get over to the next game of the night. We're going to go over to the Memphis Grizzlies. They are visiting the New Orleans Pelicans in this game. Looking at the lines currently over on DraftKings Sportsbook, currently seeing now the Pelicans have shot up to a 4.5-point favorite in this game. With a total of, let's see here, the updated number is 229.5 for this game. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, start here with the Memphis Grizzlies. On their injury report, I am currently seeing, where is Memphis? Memphis. Here we go. So the usual guys are out. John Kankar, or Conchar, I should say, is available to play in this game. Derrick Rose continues to be out. Marcus Smart is officially questionable with a left foot sprain, so keep that in mind. For the Pelicans, pretty clean injury report. Larry Nance Jr. is doubtful, and Cody Zeller is questionable for this game. Obviously, we have seen the return of John Morant for the Memphis Grizzlies, and offensively, they look good. They won a couple ball games here as well, but now they are the Memphis Grizzlies to New Orleans as a 4.5-point dog in this game. Lonte, lead us off.
Yeah, I like New Orleans here. I think the number is a little bit of a over adjustment. They closed 8.5 on the 19th, and now they're, what did you say, 4 now? 4.5?
4.5.
Yeah, so I think that's a little bit over adjustment. They dominated the majority of the game. They just blew that lead. They have been a bit inconsistent versus a weak schedule over the past week or so, but I mean, nothing's pretty much has changed since they played. I think they each played 2 games. Memphis have, of course, won their 2, and New Orleans split theirs. Blew the one game against Houston, if I'm not mistaken. That was the game on the that they played at home. You know, Memphis got a shot in the arms. It's Ja's return, 3-0 straight up in ATS. They're pretty good on the road, even without Ja. 8-7 ATS on the road. New Orleans is dominated at home, 10-5 ATS. Yeah, I think that I just like New Orleans here. I think they got better options as far as scoring wise. Pretty much got to limit what Ja does to kind of get other guys going. I think him getting his is fine, but you want to limit him getting into the lane, spraying out to Bane and those other guys. But yeah, I think New Orleans is going to decide here if they can get their three pointers to fall. They don't shoot a lot, which is kind of odd with Trey Murphy, and Ingram doesn't shoot a lot of threes. But
Murphy missed a decent amount to start the year. To be fair, he missed a lot of games early in the year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I think I think New Orleans does a good job defending the 3. So running Bane off the 3-point line, they're 4th in 3-point percentage defense. Yeah, I think New Orleans is side here, man. I like them quite a bit here. Wouldn't be surprised if they win by double digits.
Scott?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go New Orleans as well in this spot. They did really dominate that game. Now, the concern is that they had no answers for John Morant at all as the game went on, and he, of course, had the game-winning layup there at the buzzer. But New Orleans, we've seen blow some games in the fourth quarter, but the fact is they dominated pretty much the entire game besides the last, I don't even know, about quarter, give or take. So I'm going to lean to New Orleans. I just think they have too much size in the interior. Memphis has Jaren Jackson, who's had a pretty average at best defensive season, and that's basically it. They don't really have anyone else. They try to use Tillman, who can't shoot free throws at all, so they really limit his minutes, and that's basically it. I just think New Orleans is going to dominate on the interior. There might be an extra motivation factor after choking away a game against this team about a week or 2 ago. So I'm going to lean to New Orleans at home. I think it's a good spot to potentially get revenge for what happened about a week or 2 ago.
Yeah, I like the Pelicans in the first half here. I mean, like Scott, you mentioned, they blew that lead in the second half against the Grizzlies, but at home this season, the Pelicans in the first half, 11-3-1 against the spread. which is the best in the entire league, as far as percentage wise and ROI wise. But the only team that has been better record wise has been the Milwaukee Bucks, 13-5 in the first half against the numbers. So do like Pelicans in the first half. I don't disagree with you guys on the full game as well. But I just can't trust this team to hold the lead right now. They burned me in that game when these two teams matched up just last week. So I'll take the first half here with the Pelicans. Scott, any thoughts on the total here?
I think I'm going to lean under. I know a lot of people probably like the over because of what happened last meeting, but they just faced off against each other. I'm just expecting more adjustments. I think maybe they won't let Ja get to the rim at will every possession moving forward. And I think the Grizzlies found something defensively as the game went on as well, as they were able to go on that run in the fourth quarter. I'm going to lean to the under. I just think that from what we saw in the last meeting, a lot of defensive mistakes can be fixable, and I'm going to lean to the under. I see a lower scoring game.
Yeah, I think I want to say that the bulk of the scoring was happening in the second half. I'll pull that number up, but Lonte, thoughts on the total?
Yeah, I think it was more so in the late in the third and in the fourth quarter where all the scoring went on. But yeah, I like the under as well. The first meeting snuck under. I think it was 228.5. It ended up 228. The pace about average for both teams. Like I mentioned earlier, New Orleans doesn't shoot a ton of threes. Memphis can't shoot threes, 27 3-point percentage offense. So I think we're going to see a lot of rim running, but Memphis is first in rim percentage defense. So I think both teams struggle scoring the ball here. So I like the under. I think we see more of a 105, 106 type of game.
127 points for scoring that second half
Yep.
that game last week in New Orleans. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind. Yeah, I like the under here as well. Again, a lot of points that Lonte you made about 3-point defense for this Pelicans team, and they're not very good at shooting 3-point shot, or don't have guys that really like to get up the 3-point shot. I think this will probably turn into a half-court game like it did kind of in that first half, where it was kind of slow and kind of grinded out before there was an explosion of points in that second half. But lean towards the under in this game. Player props, Scott, do you have anything in this game?
Yeah, I think I kind of have to go back to Ja in a way. I'm trying to figure out which angle I want to take, though. Like, do I think New Orleans overcorrects and starts just trying to do whatever they can to get the ball out of Ja's hands, and then you look for maybe Jaren Jackson or you look for any of these other guys to step up? Or does Ja just do Ja thing and drop 30-something again? I'm assuming New Orleans is going to pivot, so I'm going to lean to Ja assists in this game. They just can't let Ja get downhill as easily as he did as the game went on. So I think you're going to see adjustments there. Jaren points is very low. I get he can get into foul trouble in this matchup, and that's always a concern. But his number is like 18.5 or 19.5. He's gone over quite regularly recently. That line just feels too low to me. He can still space the floor. He can still shoot threes. I don't mind going for Jaren Jackson points.
Yeah, I do like Ja's assists in this game. It's at 7.5 at -145, but in the 3 games that he has returned this season, he's had at least 8 assists in all 3 games, and he did have 11 against the Atlanta Hawks. So I do like that. I was looking at Valanciunas rebounds in this game as well. That number's at 10.5. Last game, even with Zion in the lineup, Valanciunas had 14 rebounds in that game. And again, if we do think that's going to be more of a defensive game where defense is going to be priority, and you'll probably see more missed shots in this game. But his number at 10.5, I thought was a little bit conservative, especially that he has pretty good history as well against his Grizzlies team, rebounding the basketball at least. So those were the 2 that I was looking at here. Lonte, player props?
Yeah, I like Brandon Ingram over 5.5 assists. He's over in 8 of his last 12 games. Had 2 games with 5, so he wasn't far off from being, over in 10 of 12. He did have 6 versus Memphis in the first meeting. Been orchestrating the offense a little bit more. They've been orchestrating the offense with him instead of CJ, letting CJ spot up because he's one of the better 3-point shooters. So I think he handles the ball a ton here. So I like the 5.5 assists. If you want to pivot and go to points and assists, I don't think that's bad. I don't think it's a bad bet either. On the other side, I'm going to go with Bain over 35.5 points, rebounds, and assists. In 2 of the 3 games with Ja, he's been over. Both of those games recently, back-to-back, he had 30-plus point games in that. He's also over in 6 of his last 9. Didn't shoot well versus the Pelicans in the first meeting. I think that kind of corrects itself, kind of tends to what you guys were saying with Ja's assists. If he can get downhill, get it to Bain, I think he shoots a little bit better in this game. So I like both of those. Brandon Ingram over 5.5 assists. Bain over 35.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Yeah, Bane's 3 points are at 3.5 at -140. Now with John Morant coming back, he's hit at least 5 in the last 2 games, with the return of John Morant. So I think that might be also worth a look in this game. All right, guys, before we get over to the next game on the schedule here, let me tell everyone about Underdog Fantasy. Rock Fantasy gives you the opportunity to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long, whether it's in the NFL, whether it's in the NBA, NHL, college basketball, and college football. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in. Stay tuned at the end of the episode. Scott, myself, and Lonte will put together our Underdog Fantasy entry for the Tuesday card, and hopefully it's a winning one. So you can watch along, and maybe you can make your own picks and maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. And when you sign up with promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit of up to $100. So again, that's Underdog Fantasy using promo code SGPN. All right, gentlemen, let's keep it going here. The next game on the schedule, it is going to be, let's go over to my parts of the world. The Indiana Pacers are in town to take on the Houston Rockets. Rockets are sitting as a 3-point favorite in this game with a total of 237.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Houston Rockets, Tari Eason is questionable. He's dealing with lower leg soreness. And then for the Indiana Pacers, only questionable tag is going to be Bruce Brown. He is dealing with a right knee bone bruise. I did see a note, if I'm not mistaken, that he was already ruled out for this game for the Indiana Pacers. Yeah. So no Bruce Brown for the Pacers. And then the only questionable tag for the Rockets is going to be Tari Eason. Lonte, lead us off. Rockets laying 3 points here, hosting the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, I like the Rockets here. Indiana reeling a little bit, especially since coming back from Vegas in the in-season tournament. They lost 4 or 5, failed to cover in 7 of the last 10. And they're really not having a lot of success offensively. They've scored 110 or less in 3 of his last 5 games. That might as well be less than 100 to this Indiana team. Houston on the other side, 125 plus points allowed in 3 of his last 5. They lost and failed to cover both of those, but they've won and covered back-to-back games, allowing under 105 in both of those. So I think the recipe for success with Houston obviously is with the defense, and I think those numbers pretty much paint the perfect picture. Indiana, we know, is not going to play a lot of defense. With offense reeling, I think that Ime can kind of scheme up some things to kind of neutralize what Halliburton does, kind of trapping him on a pick and roll. If you notice, since the Lakers have kind of played him a different way, a lot of the league has been playing him that same way. He's been struggling a little bit with kind of adjusting to that. I'm pretty sure he will adjust to it, but he just hasn't as of yet. Houston 5th in defensive rating, 1st in 3-point percentage defense. So that's a big thing to lean on for the Houston defense to run Indiana off the 3-point line. They're middle of the pack offensively, but I think their defense kind of orchestrates their offense. So I think Houston, I think they win here. I think the number's about right, to be honest with you. I'll try to find a cheap money line to lay, but I do think if you like Houston, you're gonna want to play the under. I mean, I know we haven't got to the total yet, but I think it's correlated, Houston and under in this game. But yeah, I like Houston to win the game.
Yeah, Houston has been struggling on the defensive side of the basketball, like you mentioned, over the past couple games here, and I think that makes me a little bit nervous about this Rockets team. But we've talked about it all season long, and I know the Pacers are struggling since they came out of that in-season tournament final against the Lakers. But throughout the season, we've seen the Pacers, like, they're going to force you to play at their pace, no matter who they're playing against, and I don't think that's an exception for this Rockets team. So, yeah, I like the Rockets at home. They've been doing really well. Obviously, 18-8-1 against the spread at home are the Rockets. 15-12 straight up. And we just want to see how many times they've actually been favored at home this season. So they've been favored 7 times at home this season, 6-1 straight up, 5-1-1 against the spread are the Rockets as a home favorite. The total 4-3 towards the under for the Houston Rockets. So do like the Rockets on the spread here, -3. Scott, making a team ride, or do you like the Pacers?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the team ride here. I can't back Indiana based on current form. Defensively, we know they're going to always be bad. And now with Bruce Brown potentially not playing, he's one of their only decent defenders. I think Nesmith is probably their best on-ball guy, but Bruce Brown's probably second. They don't have anybody else worth a damn defensively. So I'm going to lean to Houston in the spot. They're 12-2 at home, so they're a great home team. And Indiana, if they're not going to guard anybody and the offense is starting to crumble, then they got no chance in hell. So I'll lean to Houston. I think it will be a higher scoring game, though. We saw Houston have a track meet with the Hawks, I think it was, about a week ago. That game was pretty high scoring. I have called the Hawks a worse version of the Pacers on the show before, which I feel like is a pretty good comp. So I can see a higher scoring game, but I really just don't trust Indiana at this point in time because we know for a fact that they won't even try to guard teams half of their possessions. So I'm going to lean to Indiana to probably lose by 6, give or take. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think Indiana hangs in there and loses and doesn't cover.
Yeah, Indiana, should I mention this as well in the handicap, that they have lost and have not covered in 4 out of their last 5 road games. The last road game that they did win and cover was against the Detroit Pistons, and the last 3 games have gone under the total. But like Lonte mentioned, they're still giving up the points. They're just struggling offensively for whatever reason. So
the Pacers on the road, by the way, are allowing 131 points per game, which is the most in the entire league by 5+ points.
Yeah,
6-8 ATS in there too on the road.
Yeah, 9-5 towards the over on the road, and like I mentioned, that number could have been better, but 3 straight unders so far. So, kind of lends me to take the Rockets team total to go over in this game. I know it's the Rockets have been more of a slow-paced, defensive-minded team, but like I mentioned, that they have struggled a little bit on the defense side of the basketball over the past 5 games. But I mean, teams are going to go through that type of cycle. You're not going to have consistently great defense all season long. There's going to be games where you give up for a stretch 115, 120 plus points per game. It's just a law of averages. So, but I do like the over in this game, more so the Rockets team total to go over as well in this game. Lonte, thoughts on the total?
Yeah, I like the under. I guess I'll go the contrarian here. I like Houston. I think Houston they don't want to run. I mean, I don't think they mind, but I think they're in their best form when they're kind of slowing it down, running their offense and kind of making Indiana or making other teams grind out in the half court. 71% of their home games, Houston that is, have went under. 6 of the last 10 have went under for Indiana. Like we mentioned, their offensive struggles. I mean, Ime, I think, is not going to allow them to go bananas here. So I like the under. I think it's correlated. If you like Indiana, you like over. If you like Houston, well, I mean, kind of correlated. To me, it's kind of correlated. But I can see what Scott was saying about Indiana on the road defensively. But I just don't think that Houston has the offensive firepower to want to score, 125, 130 plus.
Player props, Lonte?
Yeah, I like Jalen Green over what is it, 18.5 points. I think this is the perfect game for him. It's pretty much going to be a track meet. If you think that Indiana's defense is hold, this is his type of game. I mean, he's been struggling a bit scoring wise. Only scored over 20 points twice this month. In 4 of his last 8 games, he's only had 2 field goal makes in 4 of those games. So I think he has a breakout game. I would ladder him up to 25 plus. Like I said, I think this is a perfect game for him to get out and get going. I wanted to look at Nesmith. I didn't see his numbers up, but I'll probably be on Nesmith, points, rebounds, and assists. With Brown absence, he'll get an uptick in minutes.
Yeah, I'm done with Jalen Green. I don't know. It just hasn't panned out, or whatever the case might be with Jalen Green. But in 4 career games against the Pacers, he has scored at least 20 points in 3 out of the 4 games against them. And if we are expecting maybe a little bit more points are being scored in outside of what the Rockets have been doing at home this season, which has been towards the under, I mean, this is a prime game for him to break out and have a pretty good game here. Şengün has been playing really well for the Rockets. If you want to look at his rebounding prop or even his P+R to go over
what do you
points
have
and
again?
rebounds.
37? What do you have? 37?
Yeah, career game 37 and 11 against the New Orleans Pelicans, and then previous to that game, he had 22 and 15 against the Dallas Mavericks. So I think that he has another big rebounding night. I think that he can finish around the basket as well. I know he'll be going up against Miles Turner, but traditionally the Pacers have been giving it up to the center position, not only this season, but over the past several seasons. So I think this could be another big Şengün game for the Rockets. Hallie assists 11.5. Anytime I see that number at below 12.5, I'm always going to be on that. But I mean, you take a look at what he's done over the last 3 games, 13, 14, and 15 assists against the opposition. So if he's not having a good scoring night, he's still contributing for the Pacers by dishing out the basketball. So don't hate those player props. Scott, any player props you're looking at?
Yeah, I think I'm looking at Van Vliet assists as well. He's been a bit quiet with the assists recently. I think he had like one against Dallas, which was kind of a weird game because they were up by basically 30 at the half and he only had one assist. But Van Vliet plays a bunch of minutes. I believe he's leading the league in minutes played. And you're looking at a great matchup because Indiana, once again, is allowing 131 points per road game. So somebody's going to get assists for this team.
Yeah.
And even though I'm still waiting for the Şengün triple-double, there has not been many this season because Van Vliet has been the main facilitator on this team. So I do think Van Vliet assists double-double is worth a look. Once again, I think Indiana hangs in there. I think they're going to lose, but the fact is if Van Vliet's going to play 36, 37 minutes and he's against this defense, I got to like the probability of him going over in the assist category. So give me Van Vliet assists over in this game.
All right, let's get over to the next game on the schedule here. We got a pretty good matchup here. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they are in OKC to take on the Thunder. Thunder currently sitting as a 2-point favorite in this game with a total of 228. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, currently for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I am seeing Karl Anthony Towns is questionable. He has left knee soreness. That is pretty much it for the Timberwolves. For the Thunder, Josh Giddey is questionable with the left ankle sprain, and Jalen, without a Y, is questionable. He is dealing with an illness here. Scott, lead us off here. The Thunder are laying 2 points as they host the Minnesota Timberwolves.
So I was going to lean to the Timberwolves, but then I saw the Cat news, and I feel like now I kind of have to lean to Oklahoma City. I just think Minnesota's got a lot of size, but Cat's been very good lately, and he provides them a very nice scoring punch. Minnesota's a team that I like because of their defense, but the issue is their offense isn't that deep because Conley at this point in his career is mostly a three-point shooter. I don't think he creates much off the dribble. We know Ant is Ant, so I'm not going to spend much time on him. Him and Shea should have a lot of fun going against each other. But I don't really see much firepower besides Cat and Edwards. So I do think when you're going to be short and you're looking at potentially being even shorter because Cat might not play, Oklahoma City can just come at you in waves. And I do think that they have a lot of firepower, a lot of different sources to score. I'm going to lean to Oklahoma City at home. They've been very good at home recently. They've been very solid offensively. Once again, I do think that Shea and Ant might have a battle. But I do think, once again, if they cancel each other out, I have more faith in Oklahoma City supporting cast to score in comparison to Minnesota's. So I'm going to lean to Oklahoma City. I think get the job done.
Yeah, these two teams matched up back on November 28th in Minnesota. Minnesota got the victory there, 106-103. Obviously in a lower scoring game, but Shea did have 32 points in that game for the OKC Thunder. 4 of the 5 starters for the Thunder were in double figures. Anthony in that game had 21 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist. Double doubles for both Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns in that game. 13 and 10 for Cat, 17 and 16 for Rudy Gobert. Lonte, -2 in favor of the Thunder here.
Yeah, I liked it better when it was 2.5 on the open. But yeah, I still like Minnesota. Both teams pretty much playing pretty good basketball. Yeah, even if he doesn't, I think the size of Minnesota is going to present them problems with even with Reed coming in, kind of getting more of a physical role. I think physicality is the OKC weakness. They played a solid schedule of games in that span. They covered 6 of the last 10. You mentioned Munaf, they won as Minnesota, that is, as 3-point favorites on the 28. 106, 103. This is without McDaniels. So McDaniels being back is kind of a big boost defensively, especially the first in defensive rating. I think Rudy Gobert is going to pretty much dominate this game. I would look at anything like Rudy Gobert related as far as points and rebounds, blocks, anything like that. Minnesota is 23rd in turnover percentage offense, while OKC is first in turnover percentage defense. So the key for Minnesota is taking care of the ball. You know, Conley does a decent job of taking care of the ball. Going to kind of need to do that a little bit better. Like OKC 29th in offensive rebound percentage, the top 3 in mid 3-point percentage offense, while Minnesota does a really good job of defending all 3 levels of the court. Obviously, first in defensive rating would tell you all of that. Yeah, I just think it's a bad matchup for Oklahoma City. I do think that they have the depth to withstand being, the absence of J-Dub and Giddey. But even with those guys, I still like Minnesota. But I think that Minnesota comes in, gets a big win on the road behind a big performance from Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid up front.
Yeah, I was going back and forth on this game here. I think I'm gonna lean towards the Thunder here. Again, Thunder have been one of the better teams at home. Actually, they've probably been the best team out with the Rockets as far as home ATS. I'm sorry. So overall, the Thunder are one of the better teams against the spread. 18-8-1 against the spread, which is the best after Philly didn't cover last night against the Miami Heat. And then at home this season, OKC is 10-5 against the spread, 66.7%, Houston being the number one team. But I think if Cat doesn't play, I think that puts a lot of pressure on obviously Anthony Edwards to score the basketball, like Scott was mentioning. Cat has been really good this season. I think that hasn't been talked about enough, just overall, for this Minnesota Timberwolves team. But I like the Thunder here at home. I think they get some revenge here on their home floor. I think SGA will have a big game. Chet has been having an incredible rookie season, especially defensively, not being talked about again, just because he's in the market of Oklahoma City, in Oklahoma City, where Victor has gotten pretty much every game that the Spurs have almost played on prime time. So, Chet has been playing well. I like the Thunder in this spot here. I'll lay the -2 here with them. Totals at 228 here, Lonte. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like the under. I mean, in the metrics, on I say this is an over spot as far as how they've been playing and as far as tempo related. But I think it's matchup wise, it sets up for similar to what we've seen in the first game, 106, 103. And that was McDaniels, who's their best on-ball defender. I think, man, it's going to end up we're going to get under 210 in this game. So I would play probably all unders as well. Minnesota's probably going to want to get the ball inside, kind of methodically half court rate. The defense of Oklahoma City, the defense of Minnesota has to be able to defend the ISO of Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City 26 assist percentage, so they're mostly getting their buckets off of the high screen and roll with Shea, of course, and not a lot of ball movement. So they're going to kind of want to set their defense up to have Bear camp out around the paint to try to get his hands up on those pick and rolls. So I do like the under here a ton. Minnesota's held 3 of the last 5 opponents to their 110 points. 206 in the first meeting, total close 228.5. So I think it goes under here. I would probably look at some all unders as well.
Yeah, I like the under here as well. Both teams have been consistent on the defensive efficiency and rating side over the last 5 games. Top 10 and season long, they are top 10 as well. So I expect, defense to be a priority here as it has been all season for both of these teams. Scott, any thoughts on the total?
Yeah, I'm going to lean to the under. Once again, Cat's one of the better scorers on this team, so if he doesn't play, Minnesota's scoring depth definitely isn't as sharp. They still have Naz Reid, who I like a lot, who might play more, but they have to reinvent the entire starting lineup, etc. So maybe there'll be a little bit of chemistry issues early on in that game. But it's mostly just the under because the first game landed 209. McDaniels, we know, is a great defensive player. I'm not saying he's going to stop Shea, but he can make life difficult to some degree for him to get to his spots. I'm going to lean under. This total just feels too high.
Scott, any player props?
Yeah, I think for the player props, see, I know that Lonte made a case for Jalen Green last game, and then you immediately said, I'm not interested. That's how I feel about Gobert rebounding. I've tried. I've tried for so long, and it just doesn't get there. I think if Cat does not play, I don't mind Naz Reid rebounds. I think as a pivot, Gobert should on paper have like 18 plus rebounds in this game, but I just can't do it to myself anymore. So I'm not going to bother with him. I think if you want to look for pivots, you might want to consider taking, I'm trying to think of who I want to take for Oklahoma City in this game. I think Jalen with a Y is worth consideration. You said that the one without a Y is going to be out, correct?
He's questionable, but I think more than likely might be out.
Okay, but in other words, the good one's going to be playing, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll take him. No offense to the other one, but I do think you're looking at Jalen having a good matchup. He's averaging 17 plus points per game. He's been solid.
Oh, wait, Scott, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. The J Dub is going to probably be out. The guard, the center is probably is the one that's going to be in. Yeah.
Okay, so my bad. I was flipping him. Yeah, my bad. I think if you want to look for blocks, maybe Chet and that with Gobert I actually will consider backing, because we know how good of a shot blocker he actually is. Same with Chet, so I can see them rim protecting pretty well. But yeah, the fact that Williams now, I was confusing them. Not going to be the first time, not going to be the last time I do that. But I think I'm just going to lean to the Nas Reed props, and I'll lean to the blocks for Gobert and with Chet. I maybe wouldn't mind Isaiah Joe threes off the bench.
The one I had in this game was Anthony Edwards over 2.5 3-pointers made. The one area that the Oklahoma City Thunder do struggle in is defending the 3-point shot. Season long, they're allowing the second most 3-pointers made per game. The last 5 games they're allowing the second most 3-pointers made per game, only trailing the Utah Jazz. As far as percentage, the Oklahoma City Thunder are bottom 10 in that category as well. And season long, it hasn't been it's been pretty consistently bad. Bottom 5 across all 3 of those categories of opponent 3-pointers made, 3-pointers allowed, attempts and percentage. So Anthony Edwards, he's getting the shots up. I believe he had at least 12 over the last 2 games, if I'm not mistaken, as far as attempts go for Anthony Edwards here. Let me just double check here real quick. He had 12 against the Sacramento Kings, knocked down 3, but he's averaging 8.6 attempts per game over the last 5 games for the Timberwolves. So over 2.5, around -110 is what I'm seeing for Anthony Edwards. I do like that. Lonte, player props, if you like any.
Yeah, I love Gobert in this matchup. I love Nas Reed as well. I didn't see Gobert's points and rebounds listed. I think they're waiting on the cat news, but
Yeah.
I still kind of can. You kind of can just go. I'm going to go over regardless. I mean, it's not going to be too high, to be honest with you. He's been dominant versus smaller front lines. He had 33 total points and rebounds versus OKC in their first matchup. If you look at him versus smaller front lines, he had 9 versus Sacramento. This is points and rebounds versus Sacramento. 25 versus Miami, 32 versus the Spurs, 39 versus the Hornets, and 28 versus Utah. So he's punishing front lines. Nas Reed, I think it'll be. I'll go points and rebounds as well, because on that second unit, that's when the size really kind of shrinks for OKC without Chet on the floor. And I think Jalen Williams will probably be in more, but I don't think he's as physical as Nas Reed. So I think Nas Reed can have his way. On OKC side, I know I'm kind of waiting for the J-Dub and Josh Giddey to either get ruled out or in. If they're ruled out, I'll be on some Casey Wallace points props.
All right. Let's get over to the next game on the board. We got the Atlanta Hawks. They are traveling to Chicago to take on the Bulls. Bulls currently sitting as a 1.5 point favorite in this game with a total currently of 234. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams here, let's start here with the road team, the Atlanta Hawks. They are going to be without DeAndre Hunter for another 2 weeks. Jalen Johnson is questionable for this game, and so is Trae Young. He's sitting with a right AC shoulder sprain. For the Chicago Bulls, Torrey Craig is out. We know about Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic is officially listed as questionable in this game. He's sitting with the left abductor contusion. So we'll see if some more news transpires for Nikola Vucevic in this game. Let's start with the side here, guys. Bulls laying 1.5 here at home, hosting the Atlanta Hawks. Scott, lead us off.
So I feel like a lot of people are going to be on the Bulls in this game because they've been very solid at home, but I don't know what that was against Cleveland their last time out, when Cleveland was missing half the team and they lost the game outright. Atlanta's a team that I don't think is very good, but they have a lot of firepower. And I think that's a problem for Chicago, because I don't think Chicago has a lot of firepower. So Vucevic might not play, which is one of their best scorers, which once again tells you why Chicago is below 500, but they have been better with Kobe White playing solid basketball, DeMar DeRozan, etc. Trae Young's a matchup problem for this team. Like, Trae's stats have been very good this season. I still don't think he's that efficient, and I still wouldn't want him on my team as a star player, but I have to acknowledge that he's been very productive based on how he's done this season. I'm going to lean to Atlanta in this spot. I think a lot of people will take Chicago, but that loss to Cleveland, I think, might suggest they're about to come back down to earth. And they were kind of playing a bit above their talent level recently, and I could see that regressing more to the mean. Atlanta's the more talented team. The issue is that they don't guard anybody, and the chemistry hasn't exactly worked out. But I'm going to lean to Atlanta. I think that Atlanta is just the more talented team, and it's a pretty low number. So I'll lean to the Hawks.
Lonte.
Yeah, I kind of struggle with this one. Munaf, I know we talked. I sent you a message, like, this is probably about a month and a half ago, like through a text, and I was telling, I was like, when LaVine gets traded or he's out, Chicago is going to go on a run as far as covering numbers and better. And I think you said it as well. I think he tweeted it out actually. So I'm gonna go find it after the show. But yeah, I think we both were right about that with Levine kind of being a ball stopper. I think Chicago's ball movement and kind of unselfishness has shown since he's been gone. And I mean, the emergence of Kobe White obviously helps that. Patrick Williams, who I'm really not a fan of, he's been better. I put that in air quotes. He's been better. Atlanta, I mean, like you said, Scott, I think it's a really good comparison that you made. Pretty much a diet version of the Indiana Pacers, 4th in offensive rating, 27th in defensive rating. They have the guys and they have the team to, kind of like size to be able to combat with some of the lineups that Chicago has. Chicago doesn't have a ton of size on the front line. Trey's been awesome, honestly. Him and DeJounte just don't work. I think they just need to kind of revamp that team and get some newer pieces in and get rid of the older pieces. Probably want to move either DeJounte or Trey and some of those wings. I think they got too many players, if that makes sense. I think they just have too many identities. They have too much of the same player. But all in all, man, I like Chicago. I think they win the game. I'll probably play them on a cheap money. I know they're middle of the pack defensively. I think Caruso will do a good job on Trey. Patrick Williams also kind of switching off and on him. If Vucevic doesn't play, I think Drummond can fill in admirably. So I'll be looking at his prop as well. Yeah, but I like Chicago. I think they'll come in and get the job done at home.
Yeah, it's just as we're talking about this game, Trey Young did participate in shoot around. So if usually a player is participating in shoot around, he ends up playing in this in a game. So definitely keep that in mind. Let me see if there's an updated number for this game, but did see all the props did come down for the Atlanta Hawks. Still sitting at 1.5 right now at 234.5. Yeah, I'm kind of with Lonte here, man. I was going back and forth on this game. It's this Atlanta just has. I've been completely wrong about this team coming into the season, where I was very high on this team coming in, but they just have not been very good against the spread or overall at all. But Chicago, maybe I don't want to say the luck has ran out. Is not the proper word after Zach LaVine has been out for the past several weeks. But I think that Scott mentioned that there's just more firepower for this Atlanta Hawks team going up against Chicago, because right now Chicago, it's DeMar DeRozan and it's Kobe White, right? And you're getting some contributions from the other guys, but with Atlanta, you have guys like Trey Young and DeJounte Murray and Bogdanovich coming off of the bench for them as well. So and I got other guys that can knock down the 3-point shot for you as well. So I'll lean here with the Hawks, and as I just mentioned that the Hawks, the line just ticked down 0.5 point. Maybe I think it'll probably be on the move a little bit more here in favor of the Atlanta Hawks with the news of Trey Young here. So I'll take the Hawks here as a lean. Total 234.5 here. Scott, anything on that?
I'm not taking the under with Atlanta. They can guard anybody, so I'll be on the over. But I think once again, even if I am picking Atlanta to win the game, it's not because of their defense, especially with Hunter being out. Like, this team can guard anybody. I think you are looking at what can be an up-tempo game, and maybe Chicago plays fast with Vucevic. I am curious if the pace might pick up, but Atlanta is once again kind of like Indiana, where it doesn't matter what the opposing team's pace likes to be, because they just go up-tempo and they don't really care. So I'm going to go with the over. Give me a lot of points in this game.
Yeah, Atlanta top 5 in pace thus far this season, and over the last 5 games, as far as pace goes, Atlanta dips just a little bit down to number 11, but they're still playing at a very, very fast pace. Yeah, I agree with Scott. I think it's over nothing for me in this game. Lonte, on the total, and then take us over to player props.
Yeah, I lean to the over as well. Atlanta's last 5 opponents have all scored 120 plus. 7 of the last 10 have went over for Atlanta. Chicago 17 and 13 to the over. They're not really an offensive firepower team. I mean, Kobe White and DeRozan pretty much provide all the scoring. Outside of that, especially without Vucevic, I don't think you're going to see, an array of points. But I do think he can sneak over this number just from a pace standpoint, like you just mentioned. So I do lean to the over here. Maybe a Chicago team total over. I'm not sure if that's correlated or not. But yeah, I lean to the over. Props wise, favorite bet of the night, Kobe White over 22.5 points. He's cooled down a little bit over the last 3 games, shot 5 of 20 from deep in that span. I think he gets back on track here. He's over this number in 6 of 11 games in December. He had 22 in 2 of the games he's missed, so right on par. He hasn't been off as much. I think 17 in the other game that he missed. So yeah, and guards versus Atlanta. I mean, I'll run through it real quick. Ja and Bane plus points. Hero 30. Fred VanVleet 32. Cade 43. I'll ladder Kobe White up to 30 plus. I think he has a real Kobe. Yeah, I'll ladder Kobe White up to 30 plus. I think he has a really good night against this defensive backcourt for Atlanta. DeJounte Murray is pretty much the best on-ball defender. I'm pretty sure he'll be on DeRozan, so that just frees up Kobe White. So I'm on Kobe White everything, 22.5 points on his PRA, 3 points, threes made. So yeah, man, if I go broke tonight on Kobe White, I'll be sending Munaf a message.
No, I don't know if I can help you out. I'm broke myself. I'll throw my player prop in there here as well. I do like the Kobe White angle. Clint Capella rebounds over 10.5. He's placed this over the last 14 games in a row. He's been in double-digit rebounds against this Bulls team. And 13 of those 14 games, he's had 11 or more rebounds. Just one game where he had 10 rebounds against the Chicago Bulls. I'm curious. I mean, his double-double is going to be at a minus price anyways, but 10.5 rebounds. It is at minus 145, but I do like Clint Capella rebounds here. That's the only player prop I did like here. Scott, any player props?
Yeah, I like Trey assists at 10.5. I also like Kobe White on the points. Once again, I'm not picking Trey to guard anybody, so I think that Kobe White is a good game. But I'm looking at Trey and his assists recently, and he's been putting up some massive numbers. So to go through the assists over the last couple of games, he's had at least 11 assists in, let me just do the math here, in 6 of the last 7. He's had at least 13 assists in each of the last 4. And he's had at least 13 assists in 3 of his last 4 games against Chicago. So 10.5 assists is too low for me. Give me the over on Trey.
Yeah, I can't talk you off of that. Again, if Atlanta's going to play at their pace, kind of like we talked about with the Pacers, like those point guards like Hallie, Trey Young, they're going to get their assists. So, yeah, can't talk you off of any of those. All right, guys, let's get over to the next game here. Still got about 3 games to get through here. Utah Jazz, they are in San Antonio to take on the Spurs. Jazz currently sitting as a 3-point favorite in this game with a total of 242. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, start here with the Utah Jazz. They are going to be questionable tags on Keontae George and THT, Taylor Horton Tucker. And then for the Spurs, Zach Collins is probable. Victor Wembanyama, I did see a note that he is probable for this game with an ankle injury, and that is pretty much it. Scott leads off here. The Jazz are 3-point road favorites here in San Antonio.
Yeah, so I know the Jazz have been a bad road team, but in general, I got to take Utah here. Wemby might not play, but I don't know if it matters. This Spurs team's a joke. Like, I don't have much more to add there. Utah's been better lately. Once again, I know that they're not good on the road, but I can't back San Antonio basically ever, especially at this price. I can't pick you to lose by 2 points or less if you've won 4 of your first 28 games this season. You're just an awful basketball team. You're one of the worst teams of all time based on projection. I mean, you're not as bad as Detroit, so you got that going for you, but this team's awful. So I'll take Utah. As long as Lauri's healthy, I have to at least acknowledge that Utah is the better team in this matchup, and I don't see Lauri on the injury report. Sexton's been good. Chris Dunn has randomly been really good at the point guard spot recently, which is something the Spurs could use because they don't have a real point guard. So I'll go with the Jazz here. The Spurs are just awful. Yeah, give me Utah -3.
Yeah, I'll make this here as well. Victor Wembanyama did participate in shoot around as well, so expect him to play here today as well. So it's easy for me. It's Jazz in the over. Again, like everything Scott mentioned about the Spurs team, this team is even worse than what they were when they were tanking for Wembanyama last season, and now with him, they're even worse. So I mean, go figure. So even though Jazz have not been very good on the road this season, I just think the talent is a lot better for the Utah Jazz. I mean, you mentioned Markkanen. He has owned this Spurs team. We'll talk about player props here in a minute. But Jazz on the road this season, despite having let me see, I'm trying to pull up their ATS record. 4-13 straight up, 16-11 against the spread. I think there's an opportunity for them to go in and get the dub here against the San Antonio Spurs. Lonte, thoughts on the side, and then take us into the total.
Yeah, I'm going the opposite side of you guys. I'm with San Antonio here. I mean, I'm not going to make a case that they're good. They do one thing well, that's get to the rim, and Utah doesn't have as much of a rim. Kessler's been better, helping them out in those metrics. he missed a lot of time, so that might be why the metrics are a little bit skewed. But I do think Victor Wembanyama can have a good game here, and Zach Collins as well. I think the guards will be able to get downhill. Vassell and Johnson, I think they'll be able to get downhill, put some pressure on the rim. I mean, I really don't have a compelling case. I just think it's a nice spot for San Antonio to get a win. I wasn't going to say bounce back, but they've been bouncing back from being horrible all season. Another thing that I do like is I'm going to bet the Spurs in the first quarter. They are 16-10 ATS in the first quarter, 10-4 at home. Jazz 6-8 ATS in the first quarter on the road, getting outscored by about 5.5 points per first quarter. So I do like San Antonio early. Probably put a full unit on that and a half unit on the +3.
I was going to mention on the total. I do like the over in this game. The Spurs at home this season, 12-2 to the over. And again, one of the worst defenses right down there with, we talked about the Wizards, the Pacers, the Pistons. San Antonio's right down there as well as far as a lot of the defensive metrics. So I do like the over in this game between these two squads here. Lonte, any thoughts on the total?
Yeah, my bad. I forgot you said go into it. Yeah, I like the over as well. You mentioned it, 12-2 for San Antonio at home. Utah 9-8 on the road to the over. 6 of the last 10 have went over for both teams. And San Antonio 130 plus in 3 of his last 5 games. They allowed 129 in the one game they missed. So yeah, I think we see a lot of points here, up and down game. So yeah, Spurs and over is what I like.
Scott, total.
Yeah, I think I have to lean to the over with these teams just because they don't guard anybody. I do think you're going to see points. The concern that you run into, though, is do I actually think these teams are talented enough to make some shots? For the sake of this game, sure. I'll lean over. I think it's going to be a fun game. If you enjoy seeing 2 bad teams with no defense attached to it, then this is the game for you. So I'll lean to the over as well.
Player prop, Scott?
Yeah, so I don't know what the minutes count's going to be for Wemby because he played right after the injury against, I think it was Chicago, and he played like 20 minutes. Like, Pop really didn't use him, but I love his blocks in this game if he actually has a decent workload. Utah is actually allowing a ton of blocks this season. Utah is allowing the second most blocks per game in the entire league, and we know Wemby parks himself in the lane as a center and blocks a lot of shots. So I like Wemby blocks, but the only concern is I don't know if Pop's going to have him on a minute restriction again where he plays 20 minutes randomly and suddenly the odds of him getting there are lower. But assuming he plays 25 or more minutes, give me Wemby blocks probably at like 2.5. Once again, Utah's a team that likes to attack the rim, but they're giving up so many blocks per game. They're allowing 6.3 blocks per game. It's a ton. So I think Wemby gets there. I don't mind Kessler blocks either, as I think that he's once again playing more minutes. He's been good at rim protection recently, so I don't mind that as well. But Wemby blocks is worth a look based on how often and how stubborn Utah is at attacking the rim.
Yeah, I was looking at his rebounds, but again, like you mentioned, for Wemby, it's just how many minutes is he going to play, especially with an ankle injury. So I probably want to pivot off of that. I am going to be on Lauri Markkanen here. His points are at 24.5, or if you want to go his points plus rebounds, that's at 33.5. Last 3 games against the San Antonio Spurs, he's been really good. The numbers are 32-12, 27-4, and 28-10 against the Spurs over the last 3 head-to-head matchups since he joined the Utah Jazz. And then over the last couple games here for Lauri Markkanen, he's had a 30-point game against the Raptors, 26 against the Cavs. And rebounding, he's had at least 9 rebounds in 3 straight games, including 2 of those 3 games going into double digits rebounding-wise for Lauri Markkanen. So I think there's a good spot here for him to have a good night against the San Antonio Spurs. So that was the one I was looking at. Lonte, any player props you like?
Yeah, completely agree with you on Lauri Markkanen. I won't go in. I won't regurgitate anything you said, but I agree with everything you said. I'm going with Wembanyama, points and rebounds over 29.5. He's over in 5 of his last 6. As long as he's not, on too much of a minutes restriction, I think he gets there. I think he has his way with the front line. I think he's pretty much, obviously a matchup nightmare for a lot of teams, but specifically with the Utah wings and their bigs. I don't think Kessler can come out and guard him off the dribble. I don't think Markkanen can either. So yeah, I think he has a pretty good game.
All right, let's get over to the next game of the night. 2 games left here. We got the Sacramento Kings. They are in Portland to take on the Blazers. Sacramento currently sitting as an 8-point road favorite in this game with a total of 237. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Sacramento Kings here, I am seeing, let's see, where did it go? Pretty clean. Only Malik Monk is a questionable tag. For the Trailblazers, Shaden Sharp and DeAndre Ayton are questionable with respective injuries here. So let's start with the side here. Scott, lead us off -8 in favor of the Sacramento Kings on the road in Portland.
It's a lot of points, but it makes sense because Portland's not very good. They've been better lately, but so have the Kings. So you can argue that cancels itself out. The Kings have been decent on the road. They're 6-6 straight up. Portland's 3-10 straight up at home. They played earlier this year. Kings won by 3 in overtime, but I believe Fox was injured, and I don't think he played in that game, if I'm not mistaken. So they won without Fox in the first place. Portland has been not very good, and they beat the Suns. Congrats. I've roasted that team for a while. Last place, Phoenix Suns, by the way. Shout out to them. But I'm going to lean to the Kings here. They got buried last game against Minnesota. Minnesota's a great defensive team. But I do think the Kings are just a little bit too potent offensively for this Portland team to match. A lot of really bad shots. They basically need Simons to go off every time they play if they want to be competitive. But Sacramento's won 4 of 6. They constantly walk into 120, and I just don't think Portland keeps up. I'm going to lean to the over, and I'll lean to Sacramento. I think they break 130 in this game, and I think that as a result, Portland's going to probably finish somewhere around like 115. So I'll lean to Sacramento. I have them winning by somewhere in the double-digit range.
Kings have been really good coming off a loss dating back to last season. 29-18 straight up, 29-18 against the spread as well. That's 61.7%. So, coming, I guess, again, making adjustments and going up against, I guess, some of the poorer teams like the Trailblazers, especially, again, like we talked about some of the defensive teams that are not very good that are on the schedule here tonight. I'm almost got here 100% that I think they do get up their points here. 8 does feel like a big number here, especially for the Sacramento Kings, but I still think that they respond in a big way here. So I'll take the Kings here as well. I like their team total to go over. Lonte, spread and total.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Portland here. I mean, they've been atrocious. Don't get me wrong, but I think 8 might be a little bit too rich. Sacramento won 121, 118 as an 8-point favorite, as an 8-point road favorite in their previous matchup, and I think Portland was missing a few guys, if I'm not mistaken. Sacramento's been they fell back offensively from what they did last year, but they've been a little bit better defensively. 22nd in offensive and defensive rating. I think they were around like bottom 5 last year. They're 3rd in 3-point attempts, 15 in percentage. The one thing that Portland does do well defensively is defend the 3. They're 2nd in 3-point percentage defense. So I think that they can kind of withstand some of the flurries and push them off the 3-point line. So I'm going to go with Portland here. They might be live. I think they might be live to win it outright. As far as the total, I go to the under. 67% of Sacramento's road games have went under. 62 of Portland's home games have went under. If Portland's going to run them off the line, I think they want to kind of slow the game down, play at their pace, half court set. So I lean to the under as well.
Player props, Lonte?
Nothing, man. I got nothing.
Scott, any player props?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, since I am picking Sacramento to score 130, of who exactly I want to pick to have the massive game. Could be multiple people. I know Sabonis ended up getting a triple-double for me over the weekend, so shout out to him. But I got to look at Sabonis' numbers against Portland. I might consider running back the triple-double. He's been really close on a bunch of occasions. He hasn't gotten there, but he had 27, 11, and 9 earlier this season. 20, 12, and 8 the game before that, and he had a triple-double a couple meetings ago last year. He had 18, 17, and 10. So Sabonis' PRA might be worth some consideration since he has been very solid recently, and Portland really doesn't have anybody that can guard him, especially with the dribble handoff stuff. But that does correlate into Fox having a big scoring game. So I think Fox could be in line for a big game. Let me just quickly see what Fox's numbers are against the Trailblazers over the last couple of games. Actually, not that great. He's had less than 21 points in each of the last 2 games against Portland, but he did have 11 assists. So I'm trying to think if I want to go for maybe a Fox assist pivot, but I think I'm just going to stick with Sabonis. Give me PRA. He's been really good the last couple games, and I'm going to expect him to keep it rolling against this really bad defense.
All right, let's get over to the last game of the night here. We got the Charlotte Hornets. They are in LA to take on the Clippers. Clippers currently sitting as a 12-point favorite in this game with a total of 228. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Charlotte Hornets, Brandon Miller is questionable with a right ankle sprain, and Mark Williams is doubtful with the lower back contusion. For the LA Clippers, Kawhi Leonard is on the injury report. He is dealing with a left hip contusion and is officially questionable. But other than that, everybody is a go in this game here. Lonte, lead us off. The Clippers laying 12 points against the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah, I can't get behind Charlotte not without Melo. They've been playing horrible as of late. If you look at just previous history of between these two teams, the Clippers have won 5 straight. 4 of those by double digits. They've covered 4 of those games as well. I don't think Charlotte has enough offensively. So I'm going to lay it. It's pretty simple with me. I'm going to lay it with the Clippers. I think they'll be fully healthy. They're coming off. I think they didn't they get embarrassed by
Boston buried them.
Yeah, Boston buried them. So yeah, I think they're coming back to kind of return the favor to Charlotte. Charlotte offensively has been atrocious. I'm going to go probably with the under and the Charlotte team total under. I mean, they're under 110 points in 4 of the last 5 games, under 103 of the 3 of the last 4. They scored 105 in LA on 12-21. The total close to 28.5. So I still think we go under here. 64% of the Clippers home games have went under, and I don't think the Hornets will be able to score over 110 points here. So I'm sorry, I just kind of cluttered mine all in one because I really don't have much else in the game. But yeah, I like Clippers and under.
Yeah, I think if the Clippers cover the number, they put up 120 plus points in this game easily because Charlotte defensively just has not been very good. Even without Kawhi, you still have James Harden, you still have Paul George, you still have Russell Westbrook, Norman Powell, guys that can knock down the 3-point shot. And again, like I mentioned, the Charlotte Hornets have been the second worst defensive rated team over the course of the season. And over the last 5 games, they have improved a little bit, but this year are bottom 6 in the entire league as far as defensive rating goes. And then for the Hornets on the road this season, quickly trying to pull up those numbers. They are 4-8 against the spread, 3-9 straight up. They're giving up 123 points per game. So, yeah, Clippers team total for me is a way to go. This will be so Clippers that they win by a couple of baskets, but I do think they have offensive success in this game. So that's where I'm going to attack it. Scott, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to lean to the Clippers. I wanted to make a case for Charlotte because the Clippers without Kawhi have looked really underwhelming. I'm hoping Kawhi comes back. We'll see what happens. But Charlotte's lost 7 straight. That's another team that's on a massive losing streak. That's not going to end anytime soon. But looking at the actual road results for the Hornets recently, I'm going to read off their games. Pacers lost by 31. Raptors lost by 15. Heat lost by 11. Bulls lost by 11. They beat the Nets by 1. Played the Knicks, lost by 24. Played the Magic, lost by 13. Played the Knicks again, lost by 22. And they beat the Wizards. So you get my point. They lose by double digits every road game they play, basically. And the Clippers should be motivated after losing to 2 good teams back-to-back with the Thunder and the Celtics completely just burying them last time out. But with the Hornets being so shorthanded and with them being so bad on the road, I'm going to go with the Clippers here. I feel a lot better about it if Kawhi plays. If Kawhi plays, they might win by 25 or 30. But I do think the Clippers get the job done. The Hornets are just that bad. So I'll lean to the Clippers in the spot.
All right, so that is going to be the last game on the schedule here for the Tuesday card. Let's get into our lock and dog for the Tuesday card, and then we'll put together our underdog fantasy entry here. Scott, you want to lead us off with your lock and dog?
Yeah, so for my lock, I think I am actually going to go back to that player prop I mentioned before with the Hawks and the Bulls game. I'm going to go with Trae Young, 10.5 assists. I'm going to go with him to have a pretty big assist game. He's had 13-plus assists in 4 straight games. He's had 13-plus assists in 3 of the last 4 against Chicago. Once again, he's only going to need 11. So I do think that's a pretty realistic number for him. The Bulls defensively have been better without LaVine. They're still not a great defensive unit by any means, but you're looking at Vucevic potentially not playing. I know for a fact Drummond can't guard anybody. So I think that's going to definitely help out the pick and roll defense, at least for Atlanta's perspective, because they can exploit that mismatch. But give me Trey to constantly get into the lane, find some lobs, find some open teammates. I'll take Trey over 10.5 assists as my lock. Quickly trying to get the price, though, for that. I think it was minus 110, but I just want confirmation on that quickly.
For which, I'm sorry?
Trey, 10.5 assists. I see minus 115.
Yeah.
So that'll be my lock for the show. And for my dog, I think I am going to stick with player props, but I'm wondering which one I should be going for. I want to quickly look up Van Vliet. I just want to see what his number's at, because I don't mind him for a double-double. Yeah, I'll take Van Vliet double-double at plus 135. I think that line's just too big against an Indiana defense that actually does not even try to guard anybody. They're allowing 131 plus points per road game. Van Vliet assists has kind of gone quiet recently, but before the recent slump, he was walking into basically 12 assists every game. At this point, I see him getting back on track here. Give me Van Vliet double-double at plus 135.
All right. Lonte, lock and dog.
Yeah, I'm going to lock up the Pelicans. I think they bounced back after blowing that game. I actually might go with, so I'll do I'll split a unit. Let's go first half. New Orleans, I think you mentioned, has been really good in the first half. 20-8 ATS by my numbers. 28 ATS in the first half, winning by a margin of 6 points. 11-3 at home, average margin 10 points. So I think they come out and kind of blow the doors off of Memphis. I was looking at some alt spreads in this game as well. Grizz 8-18 in the first half, getting outscored by almost 7 points per. A lot of that obviously is without Ja. So, take that for what it's worth. I do think New Orleans can get downhill, get to the free throw line. They shoot enough threes to kind of, neutralize what Memphis does well, which is blocking shots. But yeah, number-wise, I think it's just a little bit too much of an over-adjustment. I mean, they closed 8.5 on the 19th, and now it's 4.5. So I think it's a little bit more of I think it's a little too much of an adjustment. So give me New Orleans. First half, I'm pretty sure they land like 2.5 in the first half. So I'll take a half unit on that and a half unit on them laying the 4.5 full game. As for the dog, I'm going with Kobe White, 25 plus ladder opportunity. I mean, 25 plus is plus 115, 30 plus 275. Mentioned the numbers for Atlanta when they're guarding point guards. Don't have a good track record of it. The pace should be pretty decent. I don't think it'll be like breakneck, but I do think Kobe can have the ball in his hands a lot and have a good game. He hasn't shot the ball well from 3 as of late, 5 of 20 in his last 3 games. But again, he's pretty much been dominant the whole month of December. So yeah, give me Kobe White ladder 25 plus and 30 plus. So I'll put a half unit on both of those.
All right. For my lock, I'm just gonna go with the over in the Spurs and the Jazz game. Like I mentioned, Spurs 12-2 towards the over at home, not playing a lick of defense, and I just think that the Spurs have enough offensively to push this over the number as well. Jazz, I know, haven't been very good on the road, but I do expect to see a lot of points between these two teams. So I'll take the over. 242 right now is the current number for this game between the Jazz and the Spurs. For my dog, not a lot of dogs I did like on the card here.
I went player prop because of it.
Yeah. Let's see. I think we put together like a same game parlay for Hallie and Van Vliet assist. I think that might be a way to look, or maybe ladder up Clint Capella rebounds in this game. Let me see what his rebounding is at 12 plus for this game. Let's see.
Munaf, the chat is clamoring for you to take the Pistons on the money line.
Pistons on the money line? Absolutely not. I will not do such things. It will be the Rockets. So let's. This is what I'm going to do. Let's go with Fred Van Vliet over on his assists, and I'm trying to find some alt numbers to make this a little bit juicy.
So you're just copying me at this point?
I am copying you at this point. That's why we do the show together. So Fred Van Vliet over 10.5 assists is at plus 200, and then Tyrese Halliburton over 12.5 assists is at plus 130. So I'll parlay those two together.
What do you say 10.5 assists was?
For Van Vliet,
Yeah.
2-1 on DraftKings.
Okay, 2-1. I'm trying to think if that makes more sense than taking the double-double at 135. Because if he's going to get the double-double, it's going to be assists.
Yeah, 100%.
Probably. 65 cents. Yeah. I'll stay with the double-double.
All right. So so the Fred Van Vliet over 10.5 assists and Hallie over 12.5 assists. That gets you plus 575 in this game. And if you want to, and I think the over is going to hit in this game as well. So I'll probably add that in as well. But officially, I'll give out the assist prop. Van Vliet over 10.5 assists, and then Tyrese Halliburton over 12.5 assists. That gets you plus 575. And if I want to add the Rockets money line or the over, that gets you a nice payout of 8-1. All right, underdog guys. We'll each pick one player prop that we really do like here for tonight. Again, go to underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN on your first deposit. You'll get a 100% deposit bonus of up to $100. Well, only if you use that promo code SGPN. Scott, favorite player prop for tonight? You want to stick with Van Vliet, or you want to go somewhere else?
Well, I know we're both going to be on Van Vliet. So, what's Van Vliet's number at for this game?
His assists are at 9.
Yeah, that's okay. Too low. I'll take the higher on that one.
Okay, I will go then to, let me see if they have Anthony Edwards on his threes. No, they don't. So then I will go to, let's see if they have Laurie listed. I'll go Laurie. Let's just go points on him. I'll go higher, 24.5 for Laurie Markkinen here tonight. Lonte, favorite player prop?
I gave out Kobe White, so I'm gonna go with my second favorite, which is gonna be Gobert, points and rebounds. What is that at?
Gobert is not listed yet because they're waiting for the cat news.
Right.
You can do White again. It's fine. We just recycle.
Yeah, let's just throw White in there, man. It's going to be a higher scoring game.
Okay.
You want to go PRA? You want to go PA?
Nah, just points. Just points, yeah.
They have it at 23.5, so we'll go higher on that. Yeah. All right. So our underdog fantasy entry for tonight: Fred Van Vliet, higher 9 assists; Laurie Markkinen, higher 24.5 points; and Kobe White, higher 23.5 points. And that $100 entry for 3 for 3, it will get you a nice return of $600 only on Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN. All right, that is going to do it for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. Scott, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, not really. Just looking forward to the games tonight, and let's make some money.
Lonte, anything else?
Nah, man, felt good to be back on here with you guys talking basketball. So, yeah, man.
Yep, it was a lot of fun. Hopefully we get this Tuesday off on the right foot, put some more money in the pockets of our listeners. If you haven't already subscribed to the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube channel, please go and do so. And if we haven't already left us a rating and review, definitely would appreciate if you guys can do that for us. We'll be back tomorrow with the usual timing, 11 a.m. Eastern. So look out for the NBA pod. Until then, good luck with your bets here tonight. Let's break these books off and let it ride.